Hi everyone, my name is Melanie and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you something that I truly believe. For us women, selling is often more natural than what we think. You see, people usually imagine sales as a word made only for men, so confident men with deep voices and perfect English, but the reality is completely different. In fact, in remote sales, women have some of the greatest advantages ever. Because selling, especially ethical selling, isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about listening, connecting, and understanding people. And who is naturally better at that? Women. So that's why in this video I will explain exactly why women are winning into remote sales, and I will share the unique advantages we bring and why this industry is so meritocratic and my honest unfiltered story of how I went from zero, full of fears and without experience, to closing sales worth tens of thousands of dollars. So if you're a woman who feels she deserves more and who wants freedom, independence, and the chance to change her life, then stay with me until the end. So a little over a year ago, my life was very, very different from what I live today. I worked 10 hours a day in Dubai for less than €1,000 a month. I confess that at first it seems like a dream, so Dubai, the skyscrapers, the lights, the luxury, but the reality was very different. I was tired, nervous, without energy, and I felt like life was moving on without me actually living. So I was convinced that the only way to change was to become someone else, so stronger, more serious, more perfect. Instead, I discovered that the real advantage was being myself, with all my fears, my perfect accents, and my authenticity. That's a message I want to give you today. First of all, let's be clear. What is remote sales? So, remote sales or remote closing means helping companies and entrepreneurs sell high-value programs, consulting, and services. So, we are not talking about $50 products, we are talking about digital services costing $3,000, $5,000, even $10,000. And you are the person who guides the customer to the final decision. So it's not about cold calling strangers and insisting. And the great thing is that you don't have to worry if finding potential customers, because the company does that for you. And the company also takes care of managing the customer, which makes remote closing the safest and most profitable job you can find online. In fact, you talk to people who have already requested information and are already interested. So your job is not to convince at all costs. It's to listen, understand the needs of the client, and guide towards an informed choice. And here there is the first great truth. Ethical sales are not manipulation, they are connection. So this is a point where being a woman, believe me, is unbeatable. When you're selling high-ticket courses, masterminds, or programs, you are not just selling a product. You are literally changing someone's life. Think about it like this. Imagine you're talking to a close friend. You know she's struggling, and you also know you have the exact solution that could truly help her. What would you do in this situation? I'm sure you wouldn't hold back, right? You would do everything in your power to show her that this could be the thing that changes everything. And that's exactly what sales really is. It's not manipulation, it's not pushing, it's caring enough to guide someone toward the right decision. And the beautiful thing about high-ticket sales is this. When the product doesn't fit, when you feel it's not the right match for the client, you don't need to have to lie. You don't have to force it. You can simply be honest, let them go, and move on to the next person who truly needs what you're offering. And that's why I say sales, especially high-ticket sales, is about service and not pressure. And once you learn this skill, once you understand how to do it the right way, not only you can make amazing money, but you will also feel proud every single day, because you will know that what you're doing is creating real transformation in people's lives. Now, I will explain why I say that women have a huge advantage in this sector. So, the first is definitely natural empathy. So, we know how to really listen. We know when a person says, I will think about it, but is actually expressing fear. So, we know when there is a doubt behind a sentence. And this is gold in remote sales because customers don't want to feel sold to, they want to feel understood. The second is immediate trust. So, let me tell you a story. In my first calls, I was afraid of my accent. I thought they will never take me seriously. But do you know what happened in reality? People opened up to me even more. They told me I decided to buy this because I trusted you. So not my perfect words, but the fact that they felt authenticity from my side. The third point is authenticity over perfection. In remote sales, you don't need to sound like a robot. You need to be real because people aren't looking for the most elegant or academically prepared closer. They're looking for someone who makes them feel heard. The fourth point is that high-ticket sales is a meritocratic industry. This is what I love most about it. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 40. It doesn't matter if you are a mother, if you don't have a prestigious degree, if you never worked in sales before. The only one thing that matters, can you deliver results? If so, you will be rewarded. When I started, I was still working part-time and my first online salary was $800. Was it a little? Maybe, but for me it was a proof that all this was real. It was no longer a dream, no longer a theory, it was a real result. And from there, with discipline and consistency, I reached the $5,000 a month and then $10,000 a month. And the day I received my $25,000 payout in a month, I remember looking at my bank account and feeling so proud of myself. So it wasn't the money itself, but it was what it represented. The proof that I could really create the life I wanted. But keep in mind, it wasn't simple. I got a lot of no's. I spent entire nights listening to my calls, criticizing myself, thinking about giving up, and I cried in front of my computer many times. But every time I remember the reason behind my motivation. Freedom, the desire not to have to depend on anyone, and the desire to finally be able to help my family. And that motivation was stronger than any fear. And here is what I learned along the way. You don't need to speak perfect English. You need to have heart and willingness to listen. Then you don't need to be aggressive. You need to be authentic. You don't need experience at the beginning. You need consistency and discipline. I turned every no I received into a lesson. Every time a customer didn't buy, I asked myself, what can I do better next time? And that mindset took me far. The world is changing. More and more companies are moving online and more entrepreneurs need to sell high value programs. And you know what? Without skilled closer, they can do it. The demand is growing and women are proving to be among the best in this industry. And that's why I say now is the perfect time to start. Not in a year, not when you are ready, because the truth is you never feel 100% ready. I wasn't, but I decided to start anyway. So if you are here listening to my story, you probably hear that voice inside you say, I want more. I don't want to just accept less. I deserve better. Or I have a good job, but how many years of stress can I live going on like this? I will be honest with you. I went from working 10 hours a day with 1 day off a week in a hotel for little money to thinking that a new job with excellent pay would satisfy me. But that wasn't the case. In fact, when I found a new well-paid job, I realized that it's not just a question of money, but of how much you can enjoy that money. And when I was working my 9-to-5 office job, I couldn't even travel because I was afraid to ask for extra vacation days. No matter how hard I worked, that effort was never truly rewarded. I couldn't even go out for dinner because I never had the time. Can you believe I spent my New Year's Eve crying and working? I was living the typical rat race life. So holding on the hope that one day by becoming manager I would finally work less and enjoy my life more. But the truth was, I watched my own manager fall apart day after day, regretting the moment she ever chose that career. If you find yourself in what I'm saying and you constantly hear that inner voice, don't ignore it. It took me years to find the courage to listen to it, and when I did it, my life changed completely. You don't have to be perfect to get started, you just have to take the first step. And if you want to take that first step by working with me, you want to understand how remote sales really works and maybe work with me, I will give you 2 simple options. You can click on the link in the description, or you can write me directly on Instagram. I will be happy to answer you, listen to your story, and show you how you too can start this journey. Because if I did it with 1,000 of fears and no experience, then you can do it too. The best time to start is now.